Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful podcast. And today we have a really interesting guest with us, which is Sridhar, who's a leadership coach. So, how about this, Sridhar? Why don't we start with a quick introduction?
Sumit, thank you so much for having me here. Absolute pleasure. I'm an executive coach. My name is Sridhar Laxman. I've been practicing my coaching for about 15 years now, and I run a firm called Lucid Minds Coaching based out of Bangalore. Prior to that, I spent about 20 years working for different corporations. So I come with about roughly 34, 35 years of work experience. And I'm passionate about coaching leaders across geographies in leadership presence, executive presence, conference, communication, strategic thinking, and a host of other areas. Again, it's an absolute pleasure being here with you today, Sumit.
Likewise. So, I think first I would definitely love to understand how you begun your journey. Now, whether it's with coaching or whether it's with working in the corporate field, how did you begin your journey?
Well, if I go back to how I started my corporate journey, it was straight out of college. By the time I finished my graduation, there was a requirement to start earning. So looked around, found a role in Times of India. At that time, 1992, it was pretty small operation in Bangalore then. We had about 2,000 copies a day circulation. Most of it was complimentary copies. But it was an interesting stint there. And from there, I moved on to the advertising world, spent 6 years in ad agencies.
Okay.
Learned a lot, worked with some of the brightest people I can ever think about. Most of them stay as friends even today. From there, I moved to the other side of the table, which is becoming a client for ad agencies. I moved to the marketing side, worked for technology firms, American Power Conversion, Hewlett Packard, Schneider Electric. In that 20-year journey, I think halfway into the journey, there was this sense saying, is this all there is to life? To wake up, get to work, do that for 30 days a month, get a paycheck, and there must be something more. There must be something that brings more meaning and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And one thing led to the other. I started reading a lot of books on philosophy, Buddhism, spirituality, trying to understand the bigger picture. And then during my international trips, got to meet a colleague of mine who had experienced coaching, and I noticed substantial changes in her demeanor and her confidence level. So quizzed her about it. She said, yeah, I worked with an executive coach. This is how it works. This I'm talking about, Sumit, way back in 2005 or 2006. Took me a couple of more years to say, hey, maybe I should explore this journey. So I engaged a coach, worked with my coach for about a year, and it was a transformational year. It was crystal clear by the end of it what matters to me, who I am, what are the values that are dear to me, where am I headed in my life, what would bring me a sense of fulfillment. And I sort of realized that, I could use my 18, 19 years of work experience to support others. Took me some more time to muster up the courage to give up a well-paying corporate job with all the perks
Sure,
that
that must have been
comes
hard,
with it.
yeah.
It was hard, and started off in 2011. And 14 years have gone by. Very happy with what I do. Very fulfilling. Got to work with clients in India, across 15 other countries, different companies, different cultures. And of course, I've invested in my coaching education, continue to invest in my education. And that's the long and short of it.
That makes sense. And you said that you explored some books to really understand the bigger picture and really get some clarity on life. So, what is one book you would maybe recommend our audience to read?
Well, there are so many. There are so many incredible books that could open people's eyes to what's possible, depending on their interests. So the one that did it for me was a book by a Vietnamese monk called Thich Nhat.
Okay.
And he's no more there. People refer to him as Thay. So he wrote a book called No Mud, No Lotus.
Sorry, what is it?
The book is called No Mud, No Lotus.
Okay.
And that is the book that sort of opened my mind to concepts that I had not thought of earlier or, considered, and helped me get past a lot of my own preconceived notions and ego and things like that. So that could be a good start. No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat.
Okay, that definitely sounds interesting. So you said that this book really helped you maybe keep your ego in check. So I wanted to understand that when it comes to a lot of leaders, especially on the top level, ego is a big picture, isn't it?
Well, ego exists for everyone, right? I mean, I have ego in me and you have ego, and there's nothing wrong with it, the way I
Okay.
understand it. It's a question of asking ourselves, is it at a healthy level? If ego is not healthy, let's say on one end of the spectrum, I may undersell myself. I may not be comfortable putting myself out there. I may shy away from opportunities. I may feel that I'm not good enough, right? If ego's at a extreme level where it's not in control, then I may be pompous, vain, arrogant, a lot of vanity, and I'm caught up in how important I am, and I'm not recognizing the importance that you bring into the conversation. That's dysfunctional too. The idea is to find that in between space, the field of opportunities that exist where it's a healthy space. I matter, as do you, as does somebody else, and we can all coexist and bring out the best in each other. I would say that's the space. So for leaders, there are people who are incredibly humble. Despite all their achievements, they demonstrate enormous humility. When I work with them, I also make them aware saying humility matters. However, humility does not mean you should not be visible or that you should not talk about your work. Humility has its place, and visibility, recognition is important too. So find the balance. People tend to think in extremes. If I'm humble, then I have to be at this end of the spectrum, or I'll be arrogant. That's not necessarily true. There's a lot of space in between. So that's how I see, or that's what I hear when I interact with leaders. There are other leaders who do struggle with,
Being
ego not
humble.
necessarily being in check. Sometimes it's driven by very quick achievements, not having faced too many challenges, or the culture which is not necessarily healthy, and as a result, it rewards egos that border on, let's say, arrogance and pomp and glory. So I think we are also, we behave based on the environments that we live in. So self-awareness helps people become more mindful and learn to keep their ego in check. So that's the learning working with leaders.
I'm curious over here. Is there a way to positively channelize ego?
Sure. Like I stated, right? If I come from a place of saying I matter, it does not mean I'm arrogant. It means that I matter. I have a place in this universe. I'm important. And I also acknowledge your importance. I don't see it as a competition. I don't see it as if I exist and if Sumit exists in that moment, I'm going to be threatened or challenged. If I see it as there's sufficient space for everyone, and each of us brings our own unique self to the world, to the universe. As a result, we are all able to generate much greater value. Then that is a healthy ego, right? And we are bringing our best selves.
That makes sense.
Our challenges emerge. Sorry, please go ahead.
No, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just stating to add to that, our challenges start emerging when we see someone else from a place of threat, right? From a place of scarcity, saying, if Sumit comes into this conversation, I may not matter. Or if someone else steps in here, I may not feel as important. People may not think about me. And that takes us down a wrong path, and a very dark path where we are not really performing at our best.
So it's the insecurities that make us feel insignificant, and ultimately that leads to a demise. That is.
Yeah, it's a series of steps, right? Fear lurks in our minds and clouds our judgment, and we're not operating at our best selves. Like I say, we're capable of incredible things, but we allow fear to sometimes cloud our judgment.
I think then the obvious question is, have you had any toxic leaders in your life?
Yeah, I have a 20-year long career, so I've had leaders that I had to work with
Okay.
who you would classify as toxic. I would put it as leaders, who could have been more empathetic, could have risen higher. But yes, I suppose that's true for many people. I'm sure they're good people. It's just given the situation, the circumstance, their own levels of self-awareness, that's what they felt was the best style of leadership. But I think with years, you realize there's better ways to lead people.
Okay, so what can someone really do if they have, say, a toxic boss or a toxic manager? What can they do to really keep their own mental sanity in check?
a good point. I think it's a very important question that you bring in. I would encourage people to reflect first on what's in the span of control. So if they're choosing to work in a place where there is a manager who they are having a lot of challenges with, right? No matter how hard they try, there seems to be some challenge there that they're not able to address. So the question then comes saying, what's in my span of control in this situation? And focus on that and try and control it. Can I have an open conversation with this person and make them aware? Maybe, they're not really meaning to do what I'm sensing they're doing. Can I have a conversation? Would they be open to changing their style of functioning? If yes, then great, right? It resolves it. Suppose they're not open to it. In the past experience, you've realized that open conversations only makes them more hostile. Then can I lean on somebody else? Is there someone in my team who's braver, bolder, courageous at managing this? Can I take this support? Is there human resources involved? Can I seek their support? Is there another mentor or leader that I have in this organization who may give me some guidelines on how to get on the best side of this person? And despite all that, if they're not able to make a break, then the question is then, what are the steps ahead of me? What are the options ahead of me? Can I work with another leader in this organization? Can I work in another organization where the culture and the values match what I'm seeking? So I think it's a series of steps they'll have to explore. I would say begin with what's in your span of control.
Okay.
People tend to do the reverse, Sumit. From what I've observed, they tend to focus on everything that's outside and try to change the other person. It's a futile exercise. It's not going to work.
But I think in corporate culture, another thing we hear a lot is that suck it up and do the work. You will get bad bosses, you'll get good bosses. And a lot of people believe in this hustle culture that I have to work 12 hours a day and all this. And why do you think this is only there in, say, our country, whereas in other countries, the workforce is much stricter? Like I've heard that, especially in international areas, when somebody tries to call you on a weekend, people don't pick up. And over here, if you don't pick up, even if it's a Sunday evening, on Monday, you have to hear about it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is prevalent. There's no looking away from it. We do have a working culture in some organizations where you're expected to be always on, always be available, always be accessible. There's a cost to pay to this, right? Both from a mental well-being and a peace of mind perspective. So I think it's there are two parts to what you're asking. If you ask me why is it that other countries are able to do it better, culturally they've always approached work that way. Work to them is one part of their lives. It's not their identity. But I think culturally here we've been brought up, the emphasis on work right from schooling days is so high that if you don't study well, if you don't get good marks, you're not going to get a good job and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of struggle for most of us growing up, and that's the belief system we've grown up with, which is different from how people are brought up in the rest of the world. Second, I think the guardrails or the standards to hold organizations accountable is probably stronger there compared to what we have here. Third, probably people are much more comfortable speaking up, bringing to notice, holding leaders accountable, holding organizations accountable. The legal systems there are probably stronger, more effective, work faster. So it is more leaning towards the individual rather than the collective. That may not be the case here. So I think it's a series of those systems and processes that exist, which either encourage or discourage someone from speaking up. But it also comes back to the point saying, when I join a workforce, how clear am I of my boundaries? Because if you are someone who's my manager, and if I can develop the courage to establish boundaries with you saying, I'm sorry, I'm not available after 7 p.m. or I'm not available on the weekends. I'm happy to work through once in a while to stay back late and finish it, but I'm not comfortable doing this every day. One or two things will happen. You'll probably respect my boundaries if you're a mature leader, and you'll focus on my productivity, on the value that I bring rather than the hours I spend. However, you or the culture, if there's insecurity, you're likely to enforce. You'll come in from a place of power, saying that, hey, listen, I'm in a position of authority. I'd like you to do X, Y, Z. And it's up to me then, do I choose to work in this culture, or do I choose to look out for something that fits well with my value systems? So it comes down to choices, Sumit. I mean, it's easy to say, suck it up and do the hard work, but there's a cost to it,
Yeah.
right? And we're teaching each other how to treat
Mm.
us every time we tolerate something.
True.
So I wouldn't say it's one of the two, it's a blend of both. You'll have to keep experimenting with what works for you at what life stages you are.
So, yeah, again, I think you're right about the whole choice thing. A lot of people think that they're handcuffed to, say, one job or tied down. But in reality, there are so many other companies, especially, I don't know why, I have worked in a lot of startups. And in startups, I find that somehow the work culture is more inclusive. Because when it is a giant corporation, sometimes they treat you like maybe you're not human there. They make you work a lot. And I've heard that someone even passed away in an office, and that was a real tragic incident. But yeah, I've found that in startups they could be more humble. So I want to ask you this, that you have worked with so many leaders across countries. So what are three common traits that you have found in these leaders that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I would begin with leaders are self-aware.
Mhm.
They know how they show up. So they're aware about themselves, their behaviors, their thought patterns, their belief systems, their value systems. Self-awareness matters. And because they're highly self-aware, there is a sense of clarity to their thinking. So when they interact with people, they're focusing on the people that they lead rather than on themselves, right? So the self-awareness, then there is the focus, which is about coming from a place of empathy, saying that, what is needed for Sumit to give his best? Who's this person called Sumit? Beyond his title, what's the person? What are his interests? What does he love? What gets him excited? What does he look forward to when he comes to work? Right? So they're focusing on the people and not the roles and the titles. The third, I think, is their effort is to create a safe space with the teams. Right? How do I make it easier for Sumit to work with me? And they do that by saying, what about me has to change, and not what do I want to change in Sumit? So if Sumit is someone who likes his space and works best when he's left alone, then this leader would adapt his style to work that way with Sumit. Let's say there's somebody else called, James or Divya, and who like leadership interaction being much more frequent, then the leader would have to adapt.
Oh.
Right? And that style of leadership seems to deliver enormous value for them, because then you're focusing on bringing out the best in people. Anyway, you're hiring the best talent possible for your org.
Yeah.
Why would you want to micromanage? Why would you want to sort of tell them what to do? Right? Harness their potential. Help them discover their best selves. And then they will go about giving you what is needed in terms of creativity and collaboration. So just to reiterate, I think it's about being self-aware, coming from a place of empathy, creating a safe space.
Okay. And also adapting, right?
Oh yeah, certainly, because there's no one size fits all. We're dealing with human beings here. It's not a machine or a process.
Definitely. And these days, the market trends have shifted. Like earlier, when you had to be in a big position, let's say in the 90s, your average age would be, say, 40, 50, 60. But these days, you can see a lot of young founders. And that's why my next question is that imagine you are Mark Zuckerberg. You started Facebook, which is worth billions now. How would you lead your team as a young founder? Because a lot of young founders have this insecurity that, hey, these people might not take me seriously because I'm just getting started out in life. So what could you do to make them take you seriously?
It's interesting you say that, because I've got to experience both sides of that. I've met founders who, like you said, are struggling and want to get better at what they do. I've also met some very young founders who are incredibly talented, incredibly confident, well aware, empathetic, have the right value systems to lead an organization, focused on people. So it's a blend, right? The world is made up of different sets of people. And I would say learn, stay open to learning, right? I mean, one of the things that we are lucky to live in this time and age is that we have access to enormous information compared to ever before. There's nothing that you and I cannot find out in one day today if we want to. Someone somewhere has already done what we need to do, and we just have to learn. We have to stay open. Second, I think, is about trying to hire the best people possible. And more importantly, when you hire the best people, find ways to bring out the best in them. Right? I know it sounds repetitive, but it's actually at the heart of everything that is needed at the workplace. It's not complex. People lose sight of it because of the pressures, the demands of the day. They get lost. But I think this is at the heart of it. If you're starting today, hire good people. Check for value fit. That's very important, right? Value fit is important. There have to be some common values between you and the rest of the org so that people are gelling and they're getting along. Third is give them the freedom. Teach them how to do well. Empower them. Give them the systems, process, people, support. Give them mentorship. Give them coaching. Give them access to any help they need. And they'll bring their best. Nobody wakes up and comes to work saying, I'm going to do something lousy today. Right? We all want to give our best.
So you talked about hiring, of course, the best people. But oftentimes in an interview, they might be really good for you on paper. And sometimes in an interview, everyone is very self-aware that they're being judged. So sometimes they can be pretentious. So how do you really know or really understand the character of this person and understand if they are going to gel with your organization or not?
Yeah. It's again, these things do happen. It doesn't necessarily mean everyone is doing that in an interview. I would begin by looking at values. Values are integral to us, right? Values essentially say what's important to us. So I value freedom and independence. You may value control and power. Somebody else may value recognition, right? Idea is to become aware. What is important to you? So let's say that, Sumit, I'm applying at your firm and you are a very high recognition culture, right? You keep looking for ways to recognize people.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who's lower on that scale. Let's say I don't like external validation. I thrive with internal validation. I may feel uncomfortable initially to be brought out in the spotlight all the time, right? However, if there's some other value that you and I and the organization and I share, that's the value that will bring us together. Let's say a value of wanting to help others, to be of service to others. It may be a value that's important to you and to me. We'll connect there. So it's not necessarily that all our values have to match. There have to be at least 2 or 3 values that are common, which acts like the glue. And that teaches us then saying, Sumit values this, Sridhar values this, it's okay. How can Sumit learn to honor Sridhar's values? How can Sridhar learn to honor Sumit's values?
Yeah.
That awareness then builds the space for collaboration, cohesion, and, for people to get along.
Okay. That is definitely a wonderful answer that you have given here. And I think, Sridhar, I want to ask you this, that when there's a team and let's say a leader isn't doing so well, maybe they're new to the role, what are some action steps they could take to become a better leader?
Again, realities of the workplace, right? Someone may have been in a individual contributor role or probably has been technically very sound over the years and now they're being made a people manager. It's not an easy skill for them to learn overnight. What would help is to focus on gaining the trust of the people. Because when you have people on your side, then they will be patient until you develop the requisite skills. Right? So I would, if I was starting today and I have a new team, I would probably look at saying, how do I build trust? One way is for me to express my vulnerability, stating that, listen guys, I'm good at 1, 2, 3, but I struggle currently at 4 and 5. So I'd appreciate if you can be patient. I'm certainly focusing on it. I like your feedback. I'm open to it. And I'm willing to make changes. I'm not asking you to change. I'm saying I'm going to change. Be patient with me. So I'm coming from a place of vulnerability. More often than not, people will connect when they see vulnerability because it also reveals trust and authenticity there. So that's one good way to start. Second is to have a very clear plan, right? Ideas are not enough. If I'm taking this up, what's my 90-day plan to become a better leader? What am I willing to commit? Am I engaging a coach? Am I engaging a mentor? Am I working with someone else? Do I have a clear path of how am I going to be a better leader? The third is also to qualify this term called better leader. What am I doing when I'm better that I'm not doing today? Am I being more empathetic? Am I being more productive? Am I being more organized? I think it's important to paint the picture. People get caught up in vague terms and, they're not able to make progress. I want to be a great leader. What does great leader look like? I suppose somebody comes and says, I want to be better at listening. Great. When would you like to be better at listening? In meetings, in one-on-one conversations, where let's get specific. So those are ways that the leader could then go about making progress. And when teams notice the effort, Sumit, no matter how imperfect the effort is, when teams notice the effort that the new leader is making, trust grows. Because then teams realize that this leader is doing what he or she said they will do. And research after research confirms this is where the gap is. That people come into town halls, make big promises, doesn't get fulfilled. But when leadership lives up to its word, it does wonders to the team.
Wow. I think that is true. That especially we see this with politics all the time, that they come, they give you so many promises, then they break all of them, and 5 years later, it's the same thing. So I think with leadership, what is important is following through, not just saying that I will do X, Y, Z, actually doing it. Yeah.
Live up to your word.
And then I think one more topic that comes to mind, which is very important for a lot of leaders, is there's a lot of workplace conflict sometimes. And understanding those scenarios and building that empathy can be hard for a lot of people. So how do you learn empathy? Because empathy, again, is a very intangible skill, right? So how do you really understand it? Is there some methodology you follow to teach people empathy? What does that work like?
In my observation, and it's a limited observation, Sumit, in my observation, there is empathy in everyone. It's a matter of how do we evoke it. That's the belief I carry after listening to people for 14 long years, right? There are organizations that engage me and say, here's a leader, we'd like you to help develop empathy. They're very low on the empathy scale. What I've observed is the person actually has high empathy, but not necessarily at the workplace or with certain teams or in certain situations. In conversations, what is revealed is the level of empathy they're demonstrating somewhere else. So I think I would begin by first spotting where is the empathy showing up today? What can we learn from there? How do you bring that into the workplace, into certain situations? Right? I've had leaders who do enormous work to support either underprivileged children or, animal shelters or some other, malnourished children being fed, things like that, but are seen as being ruthless at work. Right? So it's not that they don't want to be empathetic. Maybe their approach to work, their philosophy about work, their belief systems about work have been driven by these concepts. They may have had some failures in the past when they were empathetic and it didn't work, and they've adopted a new way of showing up. So it's a matter of self-awareness, right? Make the individual highly self-aware. Teach them how to develop it, right? It comes with practice like any other skill. If you ask me, how do we teach someone to be kind? Let them be kind in the moment. In this moment, can they be kind with themselves? Can they accept themselves as they are? Can they do something kind for themselves in this moment, in the next moment, in the next hour? It's not a thing that's going to happen 5 years or 10 years from now. The opportunity is always here and now, in this moment. If I can experience gratitude in this moment for being on this call with you and sharing my thoughts and you listening to it patiently, then I'm being more grateful than before. And from this moment, I could move to the next moment being with greater gratitude, and so on and so forth, right? We strengthen it by practicing it over and over again.
Okay. It's about building it little by little until someday you reach there.
And it becomes sustainable, second nature, right?
Yeah. And I love this point that you raised where you said that empathy is already in everyone. You just have to evoke it. And that is so true. And we just have to realize and understand that, okay, I'm empathetic here. Why is it that I'm not empathetic here? And probably our past experiences have maybe affected that. So really getting into that.
Yeah. And also, maybe I'm not being treated with empathy. And hence, this is my way of responding, right? Going back to the book I spoke of earlier, Thich Nhat has book, No Mud, No Lotus. One of the teachings there that has stood with me, he says, there are seeds of mindfulness, there are seeds of kindness, seeds of empathy in us. There's also seeds of hatred, of anger, jealousy, greed in us. When we are mindful enough to water the right seeds, then that will come to the surface. That's what will, grow and flourish.
Yeah.
If I can be mindful saying, okay, I need to be more empathetic. I focus on empathy. I don't focus on, being harsh or cruel or angry. Then I'm watering these seeds. And that's what's going to sprout and grow into a strong tree over a period of time.
Yeah. I think when you spoke about this, the red car theory came to my mind, which is that you don't notice how many red cars or opportunities are there until you go and buy a red car for yourself. And I think that's the same with your emotions. You don't notice that I can actually grow and develop this emotion until you take your full focus and like really blindside at it and try to grow it. And that is, I think, how it works with us. Everyone needs that balance because all of us feel everything, but it's at what intensity. Like when I talk to you, you have a very calm aura sort of thing where anyone can be vulnerable with you. But if there is a very loud leader, some people try to project, I would say, fake confidence, where they try to just increase their volume and they start yelling. For some reason, they associate loudness with confidence. And those kind of leaders aren't approachable and they're very intimidating. And the thing with intimidating leaders is that I want to understand how an intimidating leader even is able to get the work done. Like, honestly, the workplace is dictated by a fear mindset over there, right? So, have you met any intimidating leaders?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a few. You get to meet across the spectrum, right? People who are across the spectrum. So, there are two ways to look at it, Sumit. One is saying, okay, here's someone who we call intimidating leader. There's certain behaviors that he or she demonstrates, which makes them intimidating, right? The other way to look at it and say, I wonder what makes them show up this way. Come from a place of curiosity and say, I wonder what struggles they have, what fear they carry, which makes them want to respond this way in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And that approach probably is a better approach in the long run in understanding them, empathizing with them, and finding a way for them to become self-aware and reduce those not so great behaviors. It takes time and effort. It requires patience. Right? The average person at the workplace may not have the ability or the time and effort to make this happen, which is where coaches, therapists, counselors can play the role and support this leader in becoming aware of what are some of the behaviors that you are demonstrating which are derailing you, causing challenges for others, and it's not serving you. What are alternatives? What are options in front of you? Right? Because actions need not necessarily indicate intent.
Yeah.
He or she may be showing up being intimidating, but the intent may not be that. The intent may be to protect themselves or to, avoid failing. There could be so much that's happening inside of that person. So I would approach it from both perspectives, right? In managing the situation.
That makes sense. And right now, of course, leadership is evolving. So, what, according to you, is the best leadership style to have in an organization? Because some people think that you have to run it with an iron fist. Some people think that empathy is the best way. So, what, according to you, is the best way to actually get the work done, keep the motivation high, and yeah.
Based on what I've learned, what I've observed from leaders across the world, I would say three things. One, people over everything else, right? The leadership that focuses on people first, people over process, people over systems. That's the first approach I would indicate. The second is to ask yourself, what is the impact of my leadership? When Sumit interacts with Sridhar, if Sridhar goes back feeling great about himself because of how Sumit treated him, then Sridhar's wanting to be with Sumit the next time, work with Sumit and want to do more for Sumit. Right? That's the power you hold as a leader, that you can influence how I feel about myself.
Yeah.
And that can support, your leadership. The third I would say is to focus on values. I know I'm repeating myself, but values matter. Understand values, especially values that don't match yours. Okay. Honor them. That's you're being the bigger person in the room. Okay. So to go back to an example, let's say if I have a high need for security and I'm in your team and you on the other hand are not risk averse. You like adventurous stuff. You like to take big bets. And you see me being very cautious in what I do. Respect that for me. Don't push me and force me to do something that goes against my nature, because then you're going to only push me away from you. But instead, if you show me how I can learn to be a little more risk averse, and you make me aware, then I take 2 steps forward, another 2 steps forward, and so on and so forth. And I meet you midway, right? Then you're honoring my value, even though that's not your value. Your value is on the reverse side, right? You're adventurous, you're risk taking. I'm someone who's cautious. Instead of labeling me, judging me, you're encouraging me, saying it's okay to be who you are. Let's explore the opportunities between here and there. What's likely to happen if you took some more risks? What's likely to happen if you took some calculated risks? How do you make it safe for me to experiment? That's, those are 3 things I would state that leaders could do to bring out the best in their people.
Wow. That is, I think, and removing that judgment out of the picture, because if you look at everything with the lens of judgment that this person is like this person is like that, then you can never be a good leader. But
we can't be good people, right? I mean, nobody knows you don't know what's going on in my life. I don't know. You only hear what I'm telling you, but you don't know beyond that. So judgment is very temporary. It blinds us, doesn't give us the full picture, and it moves people away from each other rather than bringing them closer.
I think this judgment and this labeling also might have started from our schooling system, where the front benchers were considered the smart ones, backbenchers. I think that's how
I've been caned for not being bright in class. It still stays with me even now after all these years, right? That's how powerful judgment is. It stays, it scars you. And I think we have to be mindful before using labels on people. I don't blame the teachers. I think in those days it was considered acceptable. Their levels of self-awareness were low. So beating children was considered okay. Labeling them was considered okay. Using harsh words was okay. I think increasingly people are becoming more mindful about it and creating healthier spaces.
Okay. I think then my final question for you, which I think would value the audience as well, is what is one golden piece of advice you would like to give to your future self? Because I think throughout your whole journey, you have unlocked so many things about leadership. What is one thing you would like to give to your future self?
I love that question. If it's okay with you, I'm going to use that in my sections too. I think it's a beautiful question. What's the advice I would give myself or my future self?
Your future self.
Future self. I'd say play bold.
Play bold.
Trust yourself. You've come this far. Things are working. Play bold. The world rewards boldness. Far too often we tend to undersell ourselves. So play bold, right? Play bold. There's always someone who will see the value in you.
Wow, this is good. I mean, even I personally believe, especially taking those leaps, because success is all about probability. And the more darts you throw at the board, the more likely that you'll get a bullseye. Yeah.
We focus far too many on the darts that didn't hit the board instead of focusing the ones that are actually hitting.
Okay. So this has definitely been a wonderful discussion, Sridhar, and thank you for your time. And I'll link the book down, and I'll also add your LinkedIn there so that people can check it out. And thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you so much for.
See you in the next podcast.